Hello, 1076 Ivoryhill Drive in Independence, Kentucky, doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We're looking for any root intrusion, structural issues, anything that may be of concern to the buyer. This should be, based off the year of the house, this should be PVC all the way out. It may change color, sort of like the type of pipe, may even change size, but we'll note that if we come to it. We're going through the clean out in the wall. It's in the center rear of the basement. There's actually a trim out in the drywall for access to the clean out cap. And so that is the only access that was found. I believe the bathrooms are directly above this. I say this is the center of the basement, but it's right behind the steps. So the garage is actually to the left. It's closer to the center of the house, but the left side of the basement if you were facing the house. And so kind of wipe the camera off a little bit. Kind of show you. Here's the zoom in. There is the clean out. It's been cut open, or they just trimmed it out to give access, which is good. Way too many finished basements that don't leave access for this stuff, and then they have to cut it out later. As we expected, this is all PVC under the floor on the inside. Just a little bit of. Here we are winding in. And then it looks like I'm going to wind and immediately turn left. Have a little dog leg there. Would have picked up another floor drain, or probably the bathroom down here in the basement. Here is a clean out. I'll try to remember on the way back just to mark this, because this is in the floor. This should be a clean out just based off of what I'm seeing as far as on the top there. There's a connection from the top, and usually that indicates the floor clean out before it exits the house. Just another access point that they put in. And that way it's just good to know where this is. So I'll try to remember when I pull back just to pause the video, and I'll locate that exact spot and mark it with a piece of tape or something, just so the buyer knows that it is there under the carpet or wherever it may be, under the flooring. It has a lot of turns. It must be. A lot of times they do this to try to get the pipe deep very quickly, and so they do a lot of turns and dog legs as it's diving to keep it to keep the overall line, starting and ending in a straight line, but they'll zigzag a lot to get depth, to get it down to like a deep main. That may mean that we're very close to the main. Okay, so now this is kind of dropping and going into SDR, which is what I meant by changing the color, or kind of they use this is just a different pipe. It's like a grading system, or a measures the thickness of the wall, basically how strong the pipe is. They call this SDR 35, and the white stuff is a Schedule 40. Roughly the same strength, there's just different grades for interior, exterior kind of stuff. But this is easily recognizable just because of the color. just note, so there is a very, very slight belly. I don't consider this a problem. Just a little tiny bit of water there right before we hit the main. The lens is only a ½ inch off the bottom of the pipe, so in a 6-inch pipe, it's not a concern. I mean, you always have a little bit of settling when you backfill. So this is, I wouldn't even mark it as a defect. It's, you know, just, I mean, that's such a small amount of water. But we've made it all the way to the main. You see, I'm just pushing the water in front. So we've made it all the way to the sewer main, 86 feet out, which means it's either in the middle of the street or with all the zigzags, we may actually be on this side of the street, up in the grass. But everything looked great. The line was in really good shape, which is what we always want. But everything looked great. So as we pull back, we're going to look again and make sure that we don't, you know, see anything on the way back. But everything looked really good on the way out. We will stop again, like I mentioned earlier. We'll stop at about 37 feet or so, and we'll mark where that floor clean out is. Joints look really tight. You can see the seams in between the connections. They all look really good. Nice and tight. They're not pulled apart at all. I did some weird turns and stuff to get this thing deep, like I mentioned earlier, but all the tights, all the seams and connections look really, really good. So here's that spot I mentioned earlier. This is where the clean out is. We're about 30, this is 38 feet, but the footage counter goes by the rotation of the drum that the camera comes out of, and so it's not super accurate. That's why we use a locator. So I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to go locate exactly where this spot is. Probably mark it with a piece of tape, and then we'll be back to finish the inspection. Okay, so we also found a reason for a couple of the turns. The line actually comes from, I'm in, like I mentioned before, this clean out and stack is if you're facing the house, it's on the far left of the basement, more towards the center of the house itself, but right behind the steps when you come down into the basement. The line actually goes across. Now this is all, you know, if you're facing the house from the front. The line comes from that left side of the basement and runs diagonal across, picks up the bathroom, and actually goes out of the house on the front right corner of the house. And then it makes a hard turn and goes out towards the street. So the clean out is marked. It is on that front right corner of the basement floor. It's marked with a piece of tape with an arrow indicating the direction of flow, like the direction that the line is going, you know, out of the house. So that's something that may want to be just jotted down. You can, you know, mark it, say it's, you know, 1 foot in from one wall and 2 foot in from the other wall, and kind of write down a little XY coordinate as to where that is for future reference. Hopefully it's never needed, but it's always a good thing to know where that access point is. We are already back to the clean out and out of the wall, so everything looked great. Didn't find any issues. That tiny bit of water way out where the lateral taps the main, it's not an issue. If it was, it's probably going to be something that SD1 would handle, just because it's basically the tap on the main. So I didn't find any issues at all. Everything looked great. Nice tight seams on the connections. So don't have a whole lot to report, which is great. I wish they all went this way. So I'm going to end the inspection here for 1076 Ivoryhill Drive in Independence, Kentucky.